Up, everybody? It's your boy Chaz Pearson, and this is the Outlet Forum with my esteemed co-host Chris Camilla. What up, Chris?
Apparently, we're not hanging banners anymore.
Yeah, there is new standards going on for new franchises. The NBA Cup has come to a close, and the New York Knicks win their first ever franchise NBA Cup as they take down the Spurs. We'll get into all that, and Adam Silver announces that there's a decision coming on NBA expansion. We'll get into that. And we have everything for week 16 NFL news coming up. We'll preview the Rams Seahawks and some of the great games that we have coming up this week. And is it the end of a dynasty? And could it be a blessing in disguise for the Kansas City Chiefs? We'll get into that as well. But Chris, the NBA Cup, I thought personally that this year the NBA Cup had more of a profound impact leading up in terms of the gameplay, how it was promoted, how it was on, Amazon Prime or, Peacock, or actually, I think it was just Amazon Prime primarily, wasn't Peacock, but it was just promoted in such a way to where they've done so much over the years in the last 3 years with the NBA Cup, with the Bucks and the Lakers, obviously, a couple years ago. There's just been so much going on with the NBA Cup, and you just got to think like, what is going on when it comes to why the Knicks don't want to raise a banner. But before we get into all that, Chris is dealing with a couple technical issues, so we'll try and get him back on here shortly. But the New York Knicks just absolutely smoked the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio, they played well for about 3 quarters, but then that fourth quarter came, and Wemby only played 20 minutes because he was on a minutes restriction, given his injury that he was coming back from. But Wembanyama played great in the minutes that he did get on the floor. And then you had Jalen Brunson just doing his thing over and over and over again, just getting to the basket absolutely at will and pouring in bucket after bucket after bucket for the New York Knicks. They pretty much ran away with this one against the Spurs, beat them pretty handily. And the crazy part about this NBA Cup win is that it doesn't go into any of the history books in terms of stats or anything like that. It doesn't go down as a win or a loss for either team in terms of the schedule or going towards regular season. All the other games do, but just the championship game doesn't. You got to figure at some point that Jalen Brunson is going to get it together and be that NBA candidate that's really going to be the MVP. You heard Mike Brown talk about how different things are happening in the league and why he thinks Jalen Brunson is in the front runner for his name being mentioned for league MVP. But to me, you got guys like Jokic, you got guys like Luka, SGA. All those guys are going to come before Jalen Brunson. But Jalen Brunson is a solid NBA player. Let's see if we can get Chris back online to talk about the NBA Cup and what he thought about it. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I got you, brother.
I had to go through how to call an audible right now because Restream give me some issues right now. So yeah, just trying to keep it together over here. Okay, so where did you leave off? Talking about Mike Brown, the Knicks, and the NBA Cup.
Yeah, and how he thinks Jalen Brunson is Jalen Brunson was the MVP for the NBA Cup, but he was talking about how Jalen Brunson needs to be mentioned as a league MVP candidate. I obviously think that he is. But first, before we get to that, what did you make of the Knicks in this game against the Spurs, and what does it mean for the Knicks, long term, now that they've accomplished something like this? Really their first win of note outside of the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Yeah, I mean, this is their first ever NBA championship since 1973. I mean, you talk about that is a long history of futility and only 2 finals appearances in that time. So, I mean, a lot of people were saying this was huge. Stephen A. Smith, or what was it, orange and blue skies? I mean, he was going nuts with it. Spike Lee was there front row. I mean, it is big because you got to also think the New York pro sports scene has not been good for a while. Not since what, maybe 2012 when the Giants beat the Patriots. I mean, that is a long history. Their only championship in recent years came a couple of years ago when the New York Liberty won the WNBA championship. So no disrespect to the Liberty, but when you think New York sports, you think Yankees, you think Mets, you think Jets, you think Giants, you think Knicks, Rangers, all of those teams, and they just have not had that level of success. So this was definitely a tip in their cap. I'm trying to be supportive of the NBA Cup. I know last week we were talking about it, but it wasn't about the cup itself. It was about the fact that there was additional money being given for winning quarterfinal matchups and everything like that. I mean, look, the old heads are going to hate it. The new people are going to try to get behind it. We know this has been done in international soccer. We know this has been done on the European scene. So I mean, it's what it is, right? Like it, hate it. This is what the commissioner's done to drum up more support and more interest during the regular season. But for New York, what I think it showed is what could be. I think that was the one thing that got nailed correctly, that this is what it would feel like if you end up winning a championship, a trophy, the confetti, being on a platform, being the best team that there is and everything. Obviously, winning something in mid-December is a far cry from winning something in mid-June. But what the Knicks showed against a really good Knicks team, against a really good Spurs team, was the fact that they are capable of playing at a high level. And I think the one thing that I took away from it was their depth. This was not something, Chaz, they had last year. We knew they had a great starting five. OG, who is fantastic. He actually led the team with 28. We know what Brunson can do. Cat's been an all-star in this league for a long time. Josh Hart plays his heart out literally every single night. Mikal Bridges is solid. Maybe they overpaid to get him, but he's still solid. But now you have Jordan Clarkson coming up off the bench. You have a healthy Mitchell Robinson. And this guy, Kolek, was a major X factor for them last night. He was brilliant. Almost reminds me, Chaz, you remember Beno Udrih from the Spurs, Sacramento Kings, those years, like early mid 2000s, 2010s. He kind of reminds me of that. So solid. What Mike Brown did was put out another ball handler, and Kolek was really a difference maker. So shout out to the Spurs. They played hard. They played well. Wembanyama still not 100%, dealing with the calf strain. Plus, he had a heavy heart that night at the passing of his grandmother. They gave it all they could. But I think what it showed, and this is something you've talked about, the Knicks can be one of those teams that can make a deep run. But what they look like now and what they look like in April and May is going to be really telling. But, hey, they won the cup. They looked good. Mike Brown did a really good job. And it's something, like I said, to shoot for and realize, hey, this is what the top feels like. Let's remember this when we're making our run this winter and into the spring.
Yeah, I think I think for the Knicks, it's really just about setting the right goals for themselves. They're a team that has to make the NBA finals this year, especially given how last season went and how they got everybody that they need. You're not out anybody. You don't have the Celtics really standing in your way like that. The Cleveland Cavaliers were not great. They just lost to the Bulls again. You got obviously Giannis and the Bucks having their issues. There's team after team, and this is the year for the Knicks. And it's good that they were able to make good strides and win this NBA Cup and play well, and even have some fun with it at certain times. Even Josh Hart getting a little frisky with Jalen Brunson at the end. If you didn't see that when they were hoisting the trophy, I thought it was hilarious. Other people taking it a little bit too seriously, but I thought that was personally hilarious. But now when it comes time for this banner, let's get into that, because that's really the news today, that the Knicks reportedly will not raise an NBA banner for the NBA Cup championship. I think that the Knicks, I understand both sides, but you got to be a good league partner here, Chris. You can't be James Dolan and give the NBA the middle finger because you don't like them taking NBA streaming services and doing those partnerships and taking them from regional sports networks like MSG, which is messing up some of the money for MSG, aka Jim Dolan. So I understand his gripe with the NBA, which has some merit, but this, you got to post the banner. You got to make sure that the momentum that you've been able to garner over the course of the last 2-3 years with this NBA Cup, you got it to this point where people are actually excited. People are talking about the courts. People are talking about Vegas, the money, X, Y, and Z. You got Chris yelling at the cloud because guys are getting paid. Like there is stuff that is important with this, and then you just decide not to put up a banner after LeBron James and the Lakers put up a banner when they have the most banners, or I'm sorry, the second most banners in the league history, and they put one up, but the Knicks haven't won shit since '73, but they can't put up their punk ass banner, even though they have Atlantic Division titles. I could go on forever, Chris, but this is foul. What do you make of it? Should they put up the banner, the New York Knicks?
Yeah, and for those reasons that you said, it's a league partnership. There's a lot of advertising and everything. This was something that the league wants to celebrate. This is not a joke to Adam Silver. This is not a joke to a lot of the people that organize this throughout the league office. So, yeah, this is something that they have to embrace, like it or lump it. We remember as Laker fans, because of the Lakers' history, and not to mention, they've won a lot more championships in recent years. The three-peat in the early 2000s, and then in 2009 and in 2010 again with Kobe and Powell, and then even recently in 2020 in the bubble in Orlando with LeBron and Anthony Davis. So, if there was ever a team that could maybe say, it was the Lakers, but even then the Lakers put up that banner and whatnot. So I think the Knicks should definitely, for a team that has not won anything in 50 plus years, going on 53 years now, this is something that they should do and embrace. So, yeah, I kind of thought that was a little bit strange, especially since I also believe this was a requirement when they first came up with this idea in 20, I believe it was in 2024, right? Or 2023. So anyway, yeah, I agree. I think it's foul only for, look, I am whatever on this tournament. Maybe it catches on in a few more years. But if this is a stipulation that they want you to boast the trophy and the banner, then I would just say do that, and especially for the Knicks, that 73 banner's got to be kind of dusty right now. So it would be nice to get something fresh up there in those rafters.
It would be one thing if you were the Lakers that don't hang anything but championship banners. They actually had a gripe. The New York Knicks have Atlantic Division and Eastern Conference champions, or Eastern Conference appearances as banners up in that stadium or arena that we call Madison Square Garden. So I just don't get why they have to do that. But then at the same time, I'm like, okay, it's just a middle finger. It's just a thumb at the nose to the NBA, and the Knicks are, good for them. They're focused on bigger things, and I understand that. But there's a bigger picture to it. So we won't get too deep into it. We both think it's foul, but we'll see what they end up doing. But I will say this: the Lakers should take theirs down. The Bucks should leave theirs up. They haven't won shit other than their championship a few years ago as well. But the Bucks should leave theirs up. Lakers should take theirs down if the Knicks aren't going to put their shit up. So that's just my own personal opinion about it. But we'll see what Adam Silver has to say if it becomes that big of a deal later on down the line. Speaking of Adam Silver, we're going to move things along a little bit faster tonight. Adam Silver did his press conference right before the NBA Cup final, and he let us know that there's a decision coming next year on NBA expansion. He's been tiptoeing around it, not trying to directly talk about it, and this was the first time that he's directly talked about it in detail in terms of what it's going to come up to be. And Chris, it looks like it's going to be a $5 billion fee for anybody that wants to take on that new NBA team. And reportedly, either Vegas or Seattle, he's saying that they're looking at multiple locations. What do you make of NBA expansion? Is it good for the league? And where do you expect a new team to be?
Yeah, I think the NBA they're definitely looking for expansion. I want to say the last expansion team was probably the Hornets, or back then it was the Bobcats in the 2004-2005 season. I think that was the last new team that we saw. You're seeing Vegas is a growing sports empire, man, and you're seeing we've seen some champions obviously in recent years with the Vegas Aces, the Vegas Golden Knights. You've seen how much people have gotten behind it. Obviously, the Raiders are the Raiders. Not even Vegas could really help them. That is just an ugly franchise. They can't seem to get anything right, But the thing is, it doesn't change. And now you're going to see formerly the Oakland A's, now up in Sacramento, going over to Vegas. I know that was kind of like pulling teeth, but you're going to see them get behind it. It's just a really good sports town. So I think that would be a good one. Seattle is a really good sports town. I know they're still bitter over what happened and how the Oklahoma City Thunder were kind of uprooted out of there after the 2008 season. Seattle's got a rich sports history with what the Seahawks have done, what the Seattle Sonics have done, the Sounders in the MLS. Another really good sports town. So we shall see. A decision on location expected to come in 26. We'll see what happens. I know they've talked about moving New Orleans, the Pelicans out of New Orleans. They've talked about moving perhaps the Grizzlies out of Memphis, or do they just go with two new teams, and just kind of go that way? So it'll be interesting to see what exactly happens with that. But I think Seattle or Vegas would be a welcomed addition. I know the fans would definitely get behind them, and you certainly have the capacity. So I think it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I really I'm curious to know how it's going to shake out if LeBron James is going to be involved, because he's been throwing out his hints for quite some time. Who's going to be in the group? Where is it going to be? They throw together these names, these jersey colors and all this stuff over a quick amount of time, kind of like they did with the Valkyrie, it seems like, in the WNBA. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I think it's going to, I really think this, depending on where geographically the two new cities are, because you can't just expand one team, it's got to be two.
Right. Yeah.
I think they should take that opportunity to reshuffle divisions or alignments. Like I don't like.
Agreed.
I don't think Memphis. Honestly, I don't think Memphis should be a Western Conference team. I just don't.
No, of course. I mean, they're in the South or Southeast, whatever you want to call it, and same thing with New Orleans. I mean, they're down in the South as well. They should not be considered Western Conference. So I'm sure they will, and that's why if you have, ideally speaking, Chaz, it would be nice if both of those teams moved out of their respective cities, because let's be honest, New Orleans has never fully embraced the Pelicans. I mean, outside of a year or two here, they're a good sports town. It's a great town. I know they've gotten behind the NBA with All-Star Weekend and stuff. I mean, it's a great place to have All-Star Weekend. It's fun, a lot of history, a lot of culture. The food is great. I've been to New Orleans once as a kid. I've been talking about going back as an adult. And I'm sure, and Memphis too has got a great history to it. And I'm not taking anything away from those fans. But what I am saying is, you're right. I think there has to be, if those teams are going to stay in their respective cities, there's got to be some sort of realignment here. I definitely agree on that. So the only way that happens is if one of those teams moves out, or when Seattle and Vegas gets the expansion teams, which I believe those are going to be the two cities. Maybe you throw Vancouver in there. Remember we had the Vancouver Grizzlies back in the mid-90s. They could be in the mix. Maybe there's another city like San Diego. Remember at one time Anaheim was interested. Anaheim wanted the Kings. If you recall, go back about 15, 16 years ago. There was talks about that. So a lot of good West Coast cities that I think their respective communities would get behind those teams. Hell, the Clippers are technically LA, but let's be honest, that's Inglewood. And they have really gotten behind the Clippers and what James Butts has done and all the hiring of local people and everything to work in these facilities, whether it be at Intuit Dome or SoFi. So there's a lot of really good opportunities there. But yes, realignment, no matter how this shakes out, is going to be absolutely necessary for the balance of the league and to really kind of control that travel a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we'll see how it shakes out and really what comes of it ultimately. But I'm just curious what the ripple effect is going to be in terms of the details. So we'll see. We'll get into it. I just had to mention that Silver finally put his foot down when it came down to actually talking about it instead of tiptoeing around it and saying it with his chest. Uh,
For
getting
sure.
into a little bit of NFL news. Week 15 was a wild ride, Chris.
Mhm.
And the wildest dip on the ride last week was the Kansas City Chiefs not only getting eliminated from playoff contention by their rival, the Chargers, well, not the rival, but their division opponent, the Chargers, but the mighty Patrick Mahomes goes down with an ACL injury, tears two ligaments in his knee. Luckily, has already started the rehab process, already eyeing a return week one of next year. Chris, what did you
Mm.
make of this, not only for the Chiefs, but is this the end of a dynasty now that now that we're talking about it from the perspective that we have been over the course of the last, I'd say, year?
Yeah. Well, first of all, shout out to Pat. Shout out to Micah Parsons. Shout out to, I think it was Buchanan, the linebacker from the Ravens. Three guys on the same day tore their ACLs. I mean, that is just, it has been that kind of year for the NFL. And we've been seeing it all year. I mean, it's almost too many to list. Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones goes down. That was an Achilles. Malik Neighbors went down with a torn ACL. So, I mean, we've just been seeing this one after another. Here's where it is with the Chiefs. Yes, it's a bad moment. Yes, it's devastating. But honestly, Chaz, I hate to see injury on anyone. Maybe this is the message that they needed a total reset. We had been talking about it with this team for quite some time. The entire country had been talking about it for quite some time. That when is that other shoe going to drop with this team? And what's so unique about the Chiefs was when they lost Tyreek Hill, or when they traded him, I should say, we thought that was going to be the beginning of their reset, right? They're going to go through a couple of bridge years where, never mind the injuries, they just won't be that good. And they'll make the
Yeah,
playoffs, but they'll get knocked out by a Buffalo, a Baltimore, a Pittsburgh, a team like that. And that'll be that. They haven't done that. They won championships during the bridge years. They won two straight Super Bowls and went to and won three consecutive AFC championships post the year that they lost to Cincinnati in 20. I think it was 21 going into 22. So
they
this
did.
team, even when things have not gone right, they have continuously found a way. This year, I think, was just a bridge too far. It started off rough. It got a little bit better. You started to say to yourself, okay, the Chiefs are waking up. Now they got Rasheed Rice back. They're going to figure it out, and they just haven't. They've really looked average and ordinary. And, I think one of the biggest issues was the offensive line. They were trying to save money, and this was what happens sometimes when you have a contending team. You're going to have to cut ties with talent at some point, and that's what they did. The problem is where they cut it. They cut it from the offensive line. You traded your one of your best offensive linemen, I believe it was Joe Thuney, for what,
Yep.
2 4th-round picks to the Chicago Bears? Like, bro,
Yep.
really? That's where you decided to make the cuts? Not to mention, Worthy and Rice, as good as they are not super elite receivers. They're twos and maybe threes, or maybe a 1A. Neither of them are true ones. And the run game has been an issue. The defense has taken a step back. So this came at a time where I think Brett Veach and the Hunt family, Andy Reid, finish out this season, get back to the drawing board, figure out what we're going to do, what areas we really need to address. And now that includes finding a temporary quarterback. They need to find the 2011 version of Matt Castle moving forward. But I also don't think this is the end of the Chiefs dynasty. Unfortunately for me, because I'm not a big Chiefs fan, I think this is just a setback for this year, and possibly next year, and they'll get back at it in 27. So
you do.
I believe so. Yeah, they're gonna figure this out. They're gonna figure this out. Hey, the Patriots did. The Patriots did. It took them a few years, but it wasn't long after Brady got back. They were back in that Super Bowl. Granted, they lost that Super Bowl to the Giants, the one I just referenced earlier, but they were still back in it. So it's a terrible situation, but I think it was necessary for them to realize, what do we need minus Patrick Mahomes? And I think, Chaz, these last 3 games, that's where they have to really make their assessment. Never mind Mahomes, never mind quarterback. Where else do we need help? Where else do we need to now, fix some of the holes, especially on the offensive side? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they got a whole lot to fix. Some people think it's just a retooling. Some people think it's a whole rebuild. I don't think it's a whole rebuild, but it's more than just a retool, because you got to improve your receivers. You got to get better running backs. Kareem Hunt just isn't going to cut it any longer, even though
and he's getting older too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he did his best with this last stint, but it kind of is what it is. The writing is on the wall when it comes to him, and I just think that they have a lot that they need to figure out and a lot that they need to fix. But it's not like they don't have. It's not like they don't have the resources or the smarts or the personnel to do it. They definitely can. It's just a matter of, do they actually go ahead and do it? So, and how they go about doing it really is the key. But for me, this team is going to look a lot different. I'm not so sure about multiple iterations of that same dynasty. The Warriors even, made it through and won that 4th championship with a same version of the dynasty.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Chiefs are going to do it as well. Will they win multiple championships moving forward? I don't think so. Could Patrick Mahomes win one more? Absolutely. But I don't think, winning 2 and 3 years or 3 and 4 years or 3 and 5 years, I don't think that's happening for them again. It was a good ride. It was a great 7-year run, but all things have to come to an end at some point. And Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are still going to do it, but it's just a matter of, can you catch lightning in a bottle again? We'll see. I have all the faith in Brett Veach and their ownership and the Hunt family, but for the Chiefs, it's time to rebuild from the inside out. Go ahead.
Question for you, and then I'll answer. Who do you think would be a good 1-year Band-Aid quarterback for them for next year that fits Andy Reid and Matt Nagy's system? If you're Brett Veach and Clark Hunt, who do you look at anyway?
It just depends on who's available. I mean, there's just it becomes who's a starter that would do. There isn't. You would have to go get a backup guy, a guy that's that's a solid backup. No, obviously not Russell Wilson, but I would say somebody like
actually, I got a name for you, but go ahead.
I mean, they might be able to do something with Tyler Shuck in New Orleans.
Maybe.
I don't know what his situation is, but I'll be honest with you. I can't tell you who sounds like they'd be the best fit. It's just Patrick Mahomes for me when it comes to that team.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but that's how you have to kind of think. I mean, who the hell saw Matt Castle coming 15, 16 years ago, filling in? He had a really good season with the Patriots. And I think, did they make the playoffs or they came short or something like that? I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was really good for them. The name that I was thinking of that would be an ideal Band-Aid, and he should be relatively fresh. And I think Andy could still put him in the best position to be successful, especially if they shore up that O-line. Jimmy Garoppolo, the backup for the Rams. I really think that could be a viable option for them, and one that could be available and not super expensive, and a guy that knows that he is a Band-Aid. I mean, Jimmy has been put into some tough situations with the Niners, but put him in the right situation with the right targets, and I think he could be solid. He's certainly not a guy that's going to win you a lot of games, but also, Chaz, I don't think he loses you a lot of games either. But you're right. I mean, no matter who you put in, everything else has to be on point. Your defense has to be on point. Your O-line has to be on point. Your run game has to be good. And you have to have enough decent targets who Garoppolo can get on the same page with. And he has shown he can, if you make it just base level for him, he could do some good things. So I'm just saying, it's probably not going to happen. That was just one of the first names that came to mind. That's all. We'll see what happens. We'll see what Brett Veach and them do. Or you go through the draft and you try to find somebody that is a little more NFL ready.
Which they very well could do. That's enough about the Chiefs. Can we get to a team that's actually winning and has an important game coming up, Chris? I.e., tomorrow, the Chiefs are out of the playoffs. The Rams are not. The Seahawks are not.
Right.
And they play each other in Seattle. What do you make of this matchup? No Devontae, no starting left tackle for the Seahawks. Well, Devontae's doubtful. He's not officially ruled out yet.
Yeah, he's not going to play.
I don't think he's going to play either. But what do you make of this game, and what does it mean for the winner or the loser moving forward?
A lot's at stake. The division is at stake. A first-round bye potentially is at stake. There's a lot there. This could very well tell you where the rest of the season is going to go. And if you're the Rams, if you're able to potentially get that season sweep over the Seahawks on a short week, minus your number 1A receiver, depending on the week, that's impressive because Seattle ain't no joke, man. And I'm not just talking about the team. I'm talking about playing in Seattle, in that environment, with the 12th man. I mean, that was a big reason why the Legion of Boom was so successful for those, mid-2010s, 2013 through 2015. They were a big reason for that. So that is a tough place to play. However, the Rams know how to get to Sam Darnold. And by the way, the last 2 weeks, that offense has been pedestrian at home, by the way. Their last 2 home games against the Vikings and then last week against Philip Rivers and the Colts, they could not score a touchdown. So not only is it the Rams who can get to Darnold, I wonder if now other teams have figured out how to defend that Seattle offense. The run game hasn't been there. Smith and Jiba is not running circles over everybody. I mean, Kupp is good. Barner is good. They got a good team. And certainly they could break loose offensively on tomorrow night. But what I'm saying is it isn't just the Rams that made that offense look vulnerable. The Vikings also exposed something, and the Colts also exposed something as well. So I wonder if that was a sort of a culmination of what the Rams were able to do at SoFi a few weeks back. But all of that being said, I expect a dogfight. No Devontae, no problem. You got those 4 tight ends. You got Puka. I'm sure a guy like Mumfield is going to probably step up. You got Tutu Atwell in there. You'll have different guys stepping up in different moments. Whittington is another one. So everyone's just got to be ready to catch the ball because you know that defense is going to be keying in on Puka Nacua. The question is, who else steps up in addition to Puka? Which run game outdoes the other? Walker and Charbonnet versus Corum and Williams. And finally, can the Rams defense continue to do what they did at SoFi against Darnold, and furthermore, what the Colts and the Vikings did against Darnold in recent weeks?
Darnold was great the first half of the season. Since that Rams game, he's been in the bottom half in terms of QBR, yards, completions, percentage, all of that. So, and when you're out a starting offensive lineman, a left tackle with a hamstring, I think somebody like Jared Verse, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner are going to have one of them is going to have a really good day tomorrow in the rain. So I got the Rams plus 1.5. That takes me to my picks. Get picks or die trying. I went 2-1 last week, Chris. I had the Rams -5. I had Washington plus 2.5. These are my picks for this upcoming week. Detroit gets off the schneid -7. I got them. They're going to beat forget who they're playing by more than a touchdown. Gosh, who are they playing, Chris?
Yeah, hold on, I got it. I'm looking it up right now.
Why I'm spacing out.
You're
I'll move on to
welcome.
Chicago. Chicago. They're playing the Vikings. No, the
Yeah.
Steelers. Right, the Steelers. Steelers at home. Steelers coming off of a game that they won. They're probably overvalued by a whole lot. I got Detroit here by at least a touchdown. Chicago, they're just a better team than the Packers. I think they would have won that game if they had a little bit more time and Caleb Williams came on at the end. But the Packers have too many injuries with Christian Watson and Micah Parsons and Tucker Kraft. So I got the Bears, and Philly is going to absolutely wax the Commanders. The Commanders beat the Giants. They're being a little overvalued off that game. Philly's going to come in and whack them by more than a touchdown after whacking the Raiders by 31 points. And the Rams, like I said, take the points because they're the better team. And even without Devontae, they got those tight ends. They got the running game. And Chris Shula just has Sam Darnold's number with that defensive front. So that is going to be the story. Even no matter how Rams win, the only way they win is by getting to Darnold. And if they get to Darnold now a third time in less than a year, going back to the playoffs last year, this week 9 win, and then this week, it's going to be the major story when it comes to them. So what do you make of these picks, Chris?
Yeah, they're good. You went 2-1. I went 1-0 because I took the Broncos as 2.5-point dogs against the Packers. So I was a little proud of myself with that.
Which I took them as well. They were just not in my.
No, I know.
Get picks or dash trying.
Usually steer clear of some of those games. Yeah, no, the picks are good. We'll see what the Eagles do. Look, the Eagles got to get themselves together. They're at home against the Commanders. They're favored by 6.5. Or I'm sorry, they're on the road against the Commanders. Washington, I don't know what the heck happened to them this year. They just completely fell off of a cliff, and this was supposed to be a year that they took a step forward potentially with adding Deebo Samuel. So I like that. Chicago at 1.5. That's a good one at home. I kind of like that one. And those are going to be Saturday games, and then of course the Rams at 1.5. In my pick'em league, they're only at 1. The Rams. They're a 1-point dog. So we'll see what happens. I also think a very intriguing matchup, Jacksonville at Denver. That'll be a good one. That'll be on Sunday afternoon in the Mile High City. Denver is really good, man. And they have just found ways to win. Bo Nix at times I call him controlled chaos. He's a little erratic. At times I feel like the game is still a little fast for him, but he finds a way to get it done, and that defense is just next level. But it would not shock me if Jacksonville goes in there and steals one and catches the Broncos napping. So it's Broncos -3. Man. I think they cover, but Jacksonville, they figured some things out. Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence look really good, man. And they got some good weapons. ETN's had a really bounce back here, but yeah, I like your picks overall. They're good. I'm just wondering what the Steelers are going to look like in Detroit. Steelers are weird every week.
Broncos money line -160, 165 now. So
yeah,
take the money line. Maybe not the points. I don't know. That might be a close one, but I like it. Week 16 is going to start off with a bang. And we will be right here all for it. We are not going to be with you guys for the next couple of shows.
No, we're potentially. Yes, it is Christmas week. Chaez and I are thinking about changing the days, going on Mondays, 22nd and the 29th. But that's still kind of a fluid situation right now because it is the holidays. It is Christmas week. Chaez has still got to get, about 10 more toys, not for his daughter, but for himself. You got New Year's coming up as well. So we're going to try at least to do one show over the next couple of weeks, but it's kind of a fluid situation. But in case we don't, y'all have a great, happy holidays. There's a lot of stuff going on leading into the holidays. It's been tragic. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of the victims in Australia, Brown University, the Reiner family. Jake Reiner is a colleague of mine from the Incline Dodger podcast, and I'm thinking about him, his sister, that entire family, and a lot of friends that the Reiner family meant a lot too. So thoughts and prayers are with all of it. And let's just be better with each other, man. This is a time of year supposed to be about brotherhood. It's supposed to be about being the best version of ourselves to appealing to our better angels. And we collectively are just not doing that. All of us, we're collectively failing. So Chaez and I are here. We don't get too deep in the weeds on that stuff. That's not our modus operandi. We are an escape. Him and I, we've talked about that. But still, I want to just take this opportunity in case it is our last show of the year. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever y'all celebrate out there. And a very happy new year and a safe new year, more importantly, going into 26. And be sure to follow us at the Outlet Forum on all major streaming platforms, and at Chris_Camelo on X and CCamelo1 on Instagram. Brother, you got anything you want to add to that?
Eloquently stated. Prayers up for everybody that's going through a hard time or a real time. We'll catch you guys before the end of the year. And thank you guys for tapping in, as always, with the Outlet Forum. We'll see